In a world where information seems to travel at the speed of light and traffic at a snail's pace, where the agenda of those at the helm doesn't always reflect the pressures on the streets, where the rubber hits the road, where there's queue of issues needing to be interrogated in the name of speaking truth to power.
Welcome to A Place at the Table,
where we set the agenda,
table the issues that matter to you,
and invite you to take a seat at the table.
A place at the table where we're set to shake much more than the table. Welcome to A Place at the Table. We're getting up close and personal on this edition. I'll be direct. What's your problem if I choose to celebrate responsible fathers?
Responsible fathers, indeed.
Yes.
Kate, I have no issues with that. I'm too busy chasing the glam economy. And time, they say, waits for no man.
Our hustle is only as good as the value we put on the average human being. And there is certainly an urgent need to value the Nigerian life.
Speaking of valuing people, my advocacy is on the actual quality of the Nigerian employee.
Sounds interesting, Charles. I look forward to hearing more. I'll be challenging each of us to answer the call to a national duty, that of patriotic patronage.
Okay, not one to beat around the bush. I am set to clear the air, should I? On a few issues after the break. Celebrating responsible fathers, a message of appreciation and reflection. On this past Father's Day, I took to APATT to celebrate the responsible fathers who make a positive impact in their children's lives, complete with a Bible passage. My intention, simple: recognize and applaud those fathers who embody dedication, love, and responsibility. I made the post, went about my day. However, what followed was unexpected and totally uncalled for. Instead of the expected encouragement, which I got actually from a lot of people and support, insults were hurled not only at me, but also at my family. The negativity stemmed from, I strongly believe, those whose conscience was pricked and were truly irresponsible going by their responses. Let me be clear. I have nothing to apologize for. Everyone has their space on the social media platforms, including the X app, to express themselves freely, including myself. The backlash I faced highlights a broader issue of how easily messages can be misconstrued online by those who do not fully grasp the simple context of a post. It's a reminder of the prevalence of knee-jerk reactions and the unfortunate tendency to escalate disagreements rather than seek understanding. The sheer absurdity that the more some of these men cackled, howled, and hurled insults, that I would somehow take down the tweet, which I repeat, had nothing wrong with it, left me in wonderment like, seriously? Words only have effects if they are true. Hand on heart, there was nothing to that tweet from my end. In writing this, I want to reaffirm my original intent. Responsible fatherhood deserves recognition and praise. These fathers play a crucial role in shaping the future of the generation, and their efforts should not go unnoticed, and they will not go unnoticed. By celebrating them, we encourage a culture of positivity and appreciation. Moreover, it's important to reflect on the impact of online interactions. The anonymity and distance of social media often lead to harsher criticisms and less empathy. We must strive to engage respectfully, and this was demonstrated by one user at Nosa FK who stated his points-based opinions, and I responded in like manner to him. I stand by my tribute to all responsible fathers who are present, caring, and committed. Your efforts do not go unnoticed. You are definitely valued and appreciated.
Okay. You know the reason why they came after you?
Why?
Because you qualified the greeting of the only Father's Day that we have out of three.
I'll let you finish,
Okay.
I think.
You qualified and you said responsible
Yes.
fathers.
Yes.
All right? And when you were doing your Mother's Day greeting, you didn't qualify.
Surely it's my prerogative. It's my prerogative, yes or no? Is it my prerogative or not?
Yes, it is absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely
thank
correct. But I'm just telling you the reason why, why they came after you. All right, so, and to be honest with you, the reason why it hurts so much for the men who came after you.
So I hit a nerve.
You did. You did. It was a big one. It was a very big one. For the only Father's Day we have. Yes.
Yeah, but your life, your value should not depend on one day.
Yeah.
But go on.
Yeah, I get you. But the reality is this. There are a lot of irresponsible fathers. That's the truth. There are a lot of irresponsible fathers who are nothing more than sperm donors. All right? And we have them in all our families. We know them, okay? We see them all around us. And because that reality faces us, we refuse to, accept it. And so our own way of dealing with it is to lash out at the one person who happens to be female, all right, that is telling us.
Oh, it's the messenger, not the message.
So sometimes also it could be the messenger. And I think that, I'll just allow others to talk on it. But my message really to a lot of the men is to say that, look, it's the truth. Let's not get angry, that she's telling us the truth. A lot of men don't show up. They're not there in the lives of their children. Yes, you pay the bills. Yes, you send the money. But that's just not enough to be a father. You have to show up. You have to be there for PTA. You have to be there with them at the hospital. You have to know what is going on with them. You have to show up and be in their lives. And that's what it takes to be a father. Okay.
Thank you. Charles, you have been smiling since. Let's know your value. Zumah says she values you. We'll see what you bring to the table
Thank
first.
you again, Zumah.
You're welcome, Charles.
So, for me, I think, I understand that when it comes to the dynamics of a home, the father and the mother, they have their responsibilities, right? And if a father is not around or there, right, I find that very, very disturbing. But most times, from my point of view, I like looking at why, right?
Okay.
Did he make a decision to not? Or the mother or the wife gave him some certain criteria that he's supposed to follow. Some women don't also make it very easy, right?
Fair enough.
And then you then cannot just go back and put the responsibility on the man and say, hey, you're not there. But no matter what, you should also try, right? It's not as easy. A lot of things, like getting a degree is not easy, but you try as much as possible to do it. Your lecturer might not like you, but you try as much as possible to ensure that because you know what you want to achieve. And if that is the goal, right, you should do it because of your children. You should ignore the person in the middle. Yep. But with respect to the message, right, I don't think responsible needed to be there.
Why?
It was not Father's Day for responsible fathers.
It was
Father's Day.
No, it was Father's Day.
It is like saying
my choice.
It is like saying we want to celebrate Children's Day for only responsible children.
No, but responsible doesn't qualify children.
Yes, okay, we cannot say responsible for children. We can say, oh, if you are a good child, you will do Children's Day for you.
But do you also agree that it is my prerogative? Same question I asked Yinka. And that you do have your space as well to tweet what you want.
100.
I'll leave you there. Yinka Obebe. Zumah, you're last, because you're a lady like me. Last but not the least.
So I think that it's very possible even for a father to be around and still be irresponsible.
Valid.
And even if you go further and say, oh, does it provide a home, does it bring money? I think it's possible for a father to bring money and still be irresponsible.
Absolutely.
And essentially for me, I think that Twitter or wherever the name of the platform is X app is so powerful, but is easily and constantly being used for most of the wrong things.
Valid.
If you have an opinion, I mean, I don't feel anything wrong in saying responsible fathers.
Thank you.
It places, it makes an opportunity for a conversation. And that's what we now begin to say, okay, so what's your perspective of being responsible
yeah.
or not. Because personally, like I said, like I opened with, I don't think that the fact that you're even around completely means that you're responsible. So I think in short, my thoughts is that there's nothing wrong with that trait. And because of that space being what it is, a lot of people do not know how to engage.
Yes.
And it goes back to our education as well. You don't necessarily have to be fighting somebody that does not agree with you.
I'm assuming the people fighting over the tweets, they are letting you know that all fathers matter, but they don't have to matter to you. On a more serious note, the men who got triggered by the tweets, they need to self-reflect and ask themselves, why does this hurt so much? Why does this trigger me? Why do I feel the need to attack the person wishing the people she desires to wish? It makes no sense. But again, it's his ex.
Yes.
That's what we do.
Again, it is X. Yes. Respect is a two-way conversation that begins even before we open our mouths. That's why I chose to answer the ones I could answer. The rest, blockity, block, block. It's about valuing ourselves.
100%, Kate. I'll be speaking to the broader issue of how we value what we have and essentially put our money where our value is. The glam economy, an opportunity untapped. 2 weeks ago, the global community experienced the beauty and glamour of a Yoruba cultural festival called the Ojude Oba celebrations of the Ijebu people through social media. I know what you're thinking, but no, my advocacy is not about the colorful outfits, the satellite dish-looking gillies, the flamboyant ashokes, or the designer shoes. Nor is it about the majestically branded horses, the cool sunglasses, and the customized matching feathered armbands adorned by the participants. And surely, I will be talking about Farouk Riagba, the king of steel.
I love it!
Who stole the show and right at this moment might be auditioning for his reality TV show. Now, my advocacy will be focused on the opportunity created by the event to boost our tourism industry. You see, that festival was a boom for textile dealers who must have made a fortune, and those in the hospitality business who must have made a killing providing lodging facilities and other recreation services. It was also a boon for makeup artists and hairstylists engaged to glam up the beautiful women. That one event must have boosted our GDP because of the economic value it created. So there lies the opportunity. Imagine the possibilities if we can deliberately create tourism around events like this in Nigeria, like the Ayo Festival in Lagos, the Agungu Fishing Festival in Kebbi, the New Yam Festivals all over the Southeast, and the Calabar Carnival. Imagine the boost it will give to different sectors of the economy. According to Statista, travel and tourism contributed 3.6% to our GDP in 2022. It's estimated that this figure can potentially go up to 10%, not with our endowed geographical landscape comprising coastal beaches, mountains, historical monuments, wildlife, and UNESCO-approved heritage centers. To achieve this, we first have to fix the security problem, review our tourism policy, and invest in critical infrastructure that will aid tourism. It is gratifying that the Minister of Tourism, Lord Adejon, recently committed to reviewing the National Tourism and Hospitality Policy and the National Tourism Development Master Plan. But we must act fast, as time is not on our side.
I love your advocacy. Is that the reason for your filler?
Yes.
And the glasses. Oh,
Yes.
boy, you're needed in Hollywood. You're needed. Okay, you mentioned, Nigeria is totally untapped. From Lagos to Abuja to Abeokuta to Ijebu. You said it, tourism without security. People need to feel safe when they're coming into a space. I made an advocacy here some weeks ago about going to Zambia and how It was so lovely being there. That's a small country, but so beautiful. Tourism without good road and network. How do people access the place? Yes, you spoke rightly. We had Calabar Carnival, but it seems like it's now a thing of the past. That's my state. As of 8 years ago, 12 years ago, it was a destination. I had people call me from Germany, from the UK. They want to come to Calabar. It was booming. Hotels, people were building hotels because they needed to accommodate people. But now, you see, the thing is also continuity of successive governments or administrators or administrations who see the need to build on existing infrastructure or what is already laid down. Donald did an amazing job. Build on it, do yours. Build on it so that it becomes something that is self-sustaining for the people. I mean, there isn't really much to do in my state. It's a civil servant state. So the carnival helped us. We even had a jazz festival that used to happen in April, like all the other places. And like you said, we need to act fast. Time is not on our side. People are going to Brazil. Nigeria has everything. The weather. Obudukatu Ranch is there.
Yeah.
We have that there at the top. You know, like, what are we doing?
So I think I really like this particular advocacy because it's something that works well with my endeavor and with some of the things I'm also very, very particular about. I remember sometime a couple of years ago, went to a commercial somewhere in Ogun State. And for you to I just want to show you how much that Ojude really did for that space. So we went there, you know how commercials are, I'm sure Kate will know. We had about 4 buses for the clients, another 5 buses for for the crew, this, that, probably like 20 buses or thereabouts, and we're there for like 3 days, and everybody was making money. Why? Because we're paying hunters to help us shoot, hold their gun as if they want to shoot. We're paying people to bring water and hold something, and the hotel was booked. We didn't book out the whole place, but at least they knew we were in town. Now, so that's the point. And if I take it quickly to Cross River, when she said that, oh, Nigeria, security, insecurity, I know that I get bashed a lot when I say this. I traveled across the north earlier in the year by road. In all full disclosure, the first set of my trip had security, but the second set did not have security. And I saw that people moved around Kaduna, went all the way to Abuja, from Abuja to Benue, and all of that. The insecurity problem is bad, of course, but it's not quite as horrible as we always make it to seem. I grew up in the north, you know.
I served in the north.
So it's there. So the point is continuity, like you said. And it's also not supposed to be a continuity necessarily of the government, which is the second part of what people always come at me for, citizens. If Calabar Festival had gone on for that long, certain private institutions, certain impact institutions should have sprung out of it, which should never let it die.
Looking at countries like Zanzibar, like Ghana, and you see the kind of tourism experience that they create for people. When people coming into Nigeria say, what's the Nigerian tourism experience? That does not involve drinking or going out at night. I'm like, okay, sorry, you've lost me. I really don't know what that is. And the reason here is the fact that we are not an experience-focused people. We are a consumption-focused people. We'd rather acquire things than create memorable, enjoyable experiences for ourselves. And there is a huge gap in the tourism space in Nigeria, the economic implications. More than 50% of the people living in Zanzibar, they work in the tourism industry. And Zanzibar is like a small, very small island, you know, and there is a lot of attraction. They create all of these experiences and you just feel like, oh, I want to go back again. I don't think there's anywhere I've been to in Nigeria that I feel like, okay, I want to go back again. The place might even be beautiful, but the experience is usually not premium. And we can talk about saying insecurity, but I think it's overhyped. Ojude is just around the corner. The Eyo Festival is at TBS. It's a no-brainer. It's not an excuse. And I think the government also, they are not doing enough to support the industry. The tourism sector is an ecosystem on its own. They are sleeping on the amounts of jobs it can generate, the amount of foreign investment it can also bring into the country. All in all, and also the fact that Nigerians, they are always pushing a negative image of Nigeria.
But are they lying?
There is something everywhere. We need to be intentional about how we project ourselves. And the people, if you're actually looking at attracting people.
I will not get into this. But
All right, Charles, what's your take?
So, I would say there's something everywhere, starting from that. And it is important that we should stop being the ones to run down our country.
Yep.
Talking about GDP, in 2018, I was in the UAE. As at then, Emirates was contributing 38% to the UAE's GDP.
That's impressive.
Now, why? People say, oh, the airline business is not profitable. Yes, but the airline business is just a transportation to bring people to your location, and then they will spend money. I'm not surprised that I know that Ibom Air would have had a great impact on the entire state of Akwa Ibom, right? I know I have gone to Akwa Ibom maybe 4 or 5 times, and it's always for conferences. And one of those times we went, and we couldn't find any hotel around, right? If 1,000 people or 2,000 persons flew into Akwa Ibom, and each of them would spend about $200, that's about $200,000 every day or for that weekend. You see what Rwanda did? They actually opened a way to... They have a government ministry that helps you organize those events because they knew that this is a strategy. If you're talking about any serious events in Africa today, they would consider Rwanda first before they consider Lagos.
Yes.
Exactly.
And I think we need to look at tourism, as she says, as an ecosystem, not wanting to make profits from just the hotel or the airline or anything. We need to understand that even the money you invest in security is boosting tourism.
I mean, you've just placed it exactly how it is. Take Imo, for instance, where it's just hotels everywhere. You get to Imo on Thursday, on Friday. I have been to Imo and we drove around 5 hotels and nowhere to sleep.
Yes.
But what is going on in Imo? People are drinking.
Yes.
People are eating pepper soup. And that is some type of tourism, whether you like it or not. So the question is, where are the monies of our billionaires and where are all the monies that, I mean, what do we use it for?
There is a sense of urgency in tapping into our God-given resources, especially in this season. What say you, Zumah?
I hear you, Yinka. Mine is also an urgent message that speaks to fighting for the soul of our nation. Sometimes last week, I saw a horrifying video of a task force officer, a man who assists the police in catching errant riders, allegedly killed by Okada riders. His lifeless body was then used as a track for their motorcycles, riding on it. This wasn't some clandestine act shrouded in darkness. This happened in broad daylight in the heart of Mile 2, Lagos, the most progressive state in Nigeria. Where was the outrage? Where was the humanity? The silence was deafening. Bystanders, armed not with courage but with cameras, recorded the scene, more interested in internet fame than a fellow human being's life. Not a single police officer materialized. Worse yet, the online reaction devolved into tribal clashes, a sad response to a national tragedy. When did we lose our sense of empathy, our sense of community, the very fabric that binds us? Has this apathy always been a thing, or are we succumbing to a daily erosion of our values? Is there hope for Nigeria, a nation increasingly becoming numb to such barbarity? Do we not comprehend that this victim could have been any one of us? What happened on that Lagos street serves as a stark reminder. What we tolerate, what we allow to fester, becomes the norm. The time for complacency is over. The citizens need to demand a robust campaign from the police and government, a campaign that reignites the flame of citizen responsibility. We must all take a stand, refusing to be silent bystanders to injustice and barbaric acts. Let us rise above our differences and our tribal affiliations. Let us choose to be better to demand better. Let our voices resonate, a chorus demanding value for every Nigerian life. This isn't just about one tragic incident, it's about the soul of our nation. We must reclaim our humanity. Let the fight for the value of a Nigerian life begin today.
I am always puzzled when very serious things happen in Nigeria and we sweep it under religion
And tribe.
or tribe, right? I think it's very disturbing because maybe the politicians have used this so much on us and then we have then believed it so much that if that person is not so close to us, we are not directly responsible as Nigerian citizens, right? I really think we've lost every culture we have as a people, every culture of community. I was having a conversation with someone recently and I was telling the person that as a boy, I could remember walking home from school. Not because I couldn't afford it or anything. I like walking, I just plug my ears and I could walk 10, 15 kilometers from school back home. I didn't have a problem with it. And that's because in Nigeria, a child carrying a school bag is very safe, right? Even if you try to harass that child, a stranger will walk by and say, oh no, you can't do this or what is happening. But are we not gradually losing that sense of security and community that we used to have as a people?
Charles, I like you. You're bringing value. So we value you. Yeah, see what I wrote. Our sense of community. We have fast lost it, and we have become the very things that we hate. What is the need in bringing out a camera? I mean, like, the first instinct of yours is to bring out a camera. Okay, the police are not there. What about you? As a group going in to say, can you stop? The man is already dead. Can you just stop? Let's find a way to... And then somebody writes that, if you carry him, you are going to join. He said, the police will say, where, how? So that has also left people like, I'm not going to help. Yes. We are losing our sense of humanity. And like Aisha says, injustice to one is injustice to all. You never know whether it's going to be your family member that has just gone down the road. You didn't care. Something has happened. Like the Kenyan riots, there was a policeman who found out that his brother was killed by one of their own. That's just how it happens. You know, what goes around comes around. We need to have a sense of community, a sense of humanity, that even if you're not related to me, I don't like what is happening to you, and so I'm going to stick my hand out and help you. And there must be others who can join with me, join with us to help.
I try to think about it from different perspectives. That could it be that we're being so
jaded,
inured to this idea of normalcy, that especially with our history of the military.
Okay.
With automatic alacrity.
So we are used to casual violence.
So we're used to violence, seeing violence, you know.
I'm not.
And somehow that has kind of made us to be accepting of violence to each other. That's a possibility. But the reason why, you know, I'm a bit unsure of that is also because we have this social media generation now that whips out their phones to record something without necessarily getting involved. A good example is the Alu 4. That happened not recently, but many years ago, where 4 young people were murdered and the videos were everywhere. Why? Because people preferred to take videos of it instead of stepping in at that time.
I'll never forget that video.
And I also remember a certain incident that happened. This happened outside the country. This happened in Italy, I think, where a Nigerian on the street, I don't know where exactly the city in Italy, but a Nigerian, I think he was selling sales on the road, was actually brutally beaten and killed right there on the street. And we saw the videos because the people were filming what was going on even while this man was being beaten to death. So it's not just a Nigerian thing, really. Maybe we have our own peculiarities, in terms of how we relate with it. But there's a problem here about how we have become so dehumanized that we've seemed to be accepting of violence to solve problems. Whatever happened to just talking about issues? That's reality.
Are there not community leaders in these communities?
Because
If
again,
you ask me,
I see no reason why stopping errands Okada riders should lead to death.
No.
And let's even say it accidentally leads to death. Do you need to ride over him multiple
Oh,
times?
that just took
That
the
was
biscuits.
dehumanizing. Yinka.
So I'll start by saying that there's nothing Nigerian about what happened. There's nothing particularly Nigerian about what happened. Nothing at all. And a lot of times we go out there and we say a lot, oh, Nigerians are, and I will try to use just a few seconds to, I'm sure you can remember the riot in London. How many years ago was that? They were at their most horrible. You'd never, see, if you ask me that, Oshodi touts and London touts, I will go with London touts. They are more horrible. They are more vicious. They did horrible things. So I think the problem we're having in Nigeria is just like what social media has done to us. We're at the receiving end, and the gaps show much more with us. But the point is that if we do not localize our security systems quickly enough, because our gaps are wider. With 200 million people compared to 300 and something million people, in America, we keep quoting America, we like it a lot. So let's quote it for this negative one as well. The American police are the most militarized police in the whole of this world.
Yes.
Uganda has a very, very militarized police. I mean, I was in Uganda a while back, and I'm like, is this a soldier? I said, no, it's a police.
Yeah.
And she's even a woman. She was standing in front of a mall. I was scared.
I don't think trying to enforce the law should lead to death or should lead to being abused after death. Progression is first measured by the value we place on an individual life, long before we identify other indices.
So through Zumah, there's a tendency to view our humanity through a transactional lens, more so when it comes to the workplace. The actual quality of the Nigerian employee. So for me, if you have a company worth 100 billion, will you hand it over to a Nigerian to run? How confident are we about our skills, work ethics, critical thinking, and value system? Looking at our society today, it is true that we have a $500 billion to $1 trillion economy. But how many of these companies run and managed by Nigerians are innovative? How many Nigerian companies have patents and proprietary technologies that we are selling to the outside world? Apart from the raw materials, why don't we have companies making and exporting finished goods? We focus on the government a lot and we lose our sense of responsibility and accountability. Nigerian bank networks and systems are being run by multinationals. Are we saying we can't produce proprietary softwares? It is a shame that today every governor you see on TV is standing by a Chinese, a Lebanese, or an Indian, right? Or a white man on a road project or road construction. The Fourth Mainland Bridge was just awarded to the Chinese, and they will own and run it for the next 40 years. Are we saying we couldn't give this to a Nigerian company or university? As a Nigerian company, can you bid for a government contract in China? What skill or finished product does Nigerian export to the world? Why are Nigerians doing better in system owned by foreigners than in system owned by Nigerians? What is the ethical culture in our workplace? There's a culture of fraud, kickback, and employees living above their means and resources. But we always see them as sharp and smart. The budget that is being misappropriated by governments, it is through Nigerians and Nigerian companies. We need to rethink our systems, and we need to do better as Nigerians in how we approach and think about things. God has given us all we need to take a long-term approach to things. Short-term fixes won't help us. We need to build quality Nigerians, which, with good work ethics and planning, our leaders need to prioritize Nigerians and Nigerian solution, or we will never move forward. Kate?
I wrote down a few things. I wrote slave mentality. Yes, we are still slaves. That's why we will look outside for help before looking inwards. I also wrote about our value system, continuity, spirit of excellence, and a legacy. All those encompass why, take the food industry. I'm going to say this without fear of favor, it's the Lebanese people. Double Four was there for years. I remember my first pizza was there. They are still there, and they are there. If it's hospitality, food is Lebanese. They will own it. They will make sure it's okay. But how many of our Nigerian businesses, like you said, are still in the running? The man will make it a one-man business. Then his children will say, I don't want to. I want to sell it. Then there will be fight, and then next thing is gone. There's just that not plowing back what you make from the business into the business to make it sustainable. It speaks to our value system. It speaks to us as what we hold, the things we hold as important, and not wanting to actually leave a legacy. We just want to put the money, let the business make money. We chop everything, we buy back, we travel abroad, we leave the employees. That's why the employees today said they will learn to start stealing from you. Like the people that own bars. It's true, they have their own POS. They steal from you because you are not even giving them a chance to be a part of the company that you are running. You collect, how much have you made this month? Oh yeah, next. You don't pay their salary. You don't make sure they are okay. There's no spirit of, ownership or investment. We are together inside this thing. But labor, they are holding tight that hospitality. You will see that they are everywhere, and you will not see any problem. If you complain to a Lebanese person and say, your food is not good, they will change it for you.
I asked someone recently, why didn't any of the Nigerian musicians that have $500,000, $1 million watches did not invest in Flutterwave or Paystack or any of these companies?
They don't trust their brother.
They were smaller companies.
They don't trust their brother. It's trust. I'm done.
Yinka.
So, I asked a question here. Can you change Nigeria without changing the Nigerian?
No.
Good. That's question number one. Question number two. Can you name one Nigerian company that is more than 100 years old?
No.
I like this lecturer mode.
Because there lies the problem. Yes. The Nigerian. Somebody says, okay, maybe it's the environment. Take us out of here, then put us in Europe and all that, where the system works and Nigerians are succeeding. But you see, the problem is fundamental to us as a people. And that's why you'll always see that systems that work, that are sustainable, that last, are not necessarily owned by Nigerians. I work for a company that is 125 years old in Nigeria. Okay? It has always invested in Nigeria. It has always succeeded in Nigeria. We've been here forever. But the system is not Nigerian. The system that we have to run under is such that we are accountable. It forces us to work under a system. Nigerians don't like to work under a system. A couple of days ago, there was this rain and all that, Davido's wedding and all. And I spent over 7 hours getting home, all right? And what caused some of the escalation of the traffic was, okay, there was a flood, so people were trying to get out of it. But because some Nigerians decided to take
one way. Yes.
So they took the other way, the other road, and clogged the traffic.
Yes.
If we don't find a way of ensuring that from a cultural perspective, and when I say cultural right now, it has to start from the home, it has to start from the church, it has to start from the mosque, it has to start from all our our systems of governance and and social structure. It has to start from that where this whole idea that you must respect rules, you must respect value, you must live in a culture structured environment.
So talking about Nigeria and our general lackadaisical attitude to excellence, we don't have an excellent culture. It is very strange to us. And when you, as a single individual Nigerian, decide to demand excellence, they look at you like you're doing too much. What is wrong with this person? So when you're saying that Nigerians don't even trust Nigerians to deliver value, I don't blame them. So from critical thinking to building to last, we don't do futuristic thinking. Everything we want it in the moment without thinking about the consequences of the future. It's that concept is also very strange to us, and that is part of why we don't have family businesses in Nigeria. So you see generational businesses in other parts of the world. It doesn't happen here. Hopefully, maybe Alaji will make it happen for us. True. We are still looking at it. So it is not Nigerian. It is not a Nigeria problem. It's a Nigerian problem.
I'm not sure what everybody does, but at least I have been running my business for at least 15 years and hiring people. And I don't want to start saying how many people I've been hiring before they'll come and start asking how much. But I stand in a peculiar space to understand what you're saying completely. And also to be blamed for, you chose to run a business. Why have you not instilled excellence in Nigeria? Dangote said recently that he brought 300 Indians to build the refinery. And somebody took up an argument with me about it. I mean, I studied engineering, so I'm very familiar with, some of these things. And I said, well, I'll do the same.
You will bring in Indians?
I'll bring in Indians, by all means.
Why?
2 reasons. Because they're Indians, we agree, and because they're also far from home. I have experimented this thing in Lagos. I bring people from Ilorin, I bring them from Ibadan, from Kaduna. And they face their work. But Lagos boys, the entire space itself lends a very difficult hand to any business, right?
What space? The Nigerian space?
The Nigerian space.
So how come they are thriving?
So that is it. These guys are coming from a backlog of generational know-how. So I think our processes, our discipline is one of the biggest problems. And for entrepreneurs, it is difficult to enforce a lot of these things.
In conclusion, before we hold our leaders accountable, we must habitually hold ourselves accountable, or we are in danger of becoming hypocrites.
Charles, as we're fond of saying, we must first tell ourselves the truth. Patriotic patronage, the key to Nigeria's economic revival. I believe Nigerians must commit to a deeper form of patriotic allegiance for our country to flourish. The call to buy Nigeria has never been more critical, especially as we work to strengthen our economy and support our homegrown businesses. With our vast population, we have the potential to make a significant impact. Take Air Peace as an example. This business made great efforts to lower flight fees, only to see foreign carriers drop their prices even further, making Air Peace appear more expensive. While some argue that Air Peace should compete and face the market forces, a little education will show us how impossible it is for Air Peace to compete, given the disparity in capitalization between it and foreign airlines. Air Peace and other Nigerian businesses need our exclusive support to survive and thrive, regardless of the sophistication of their services. Our patronage is their only advantage. Another example is the Dangote refinery, which faces intense competition from imports. It is essential that we do everything possible to ensure our pioneering businesses succeed and commit to exclusive patronage. The issue of monopoly arises, but the way to break it is by building competition, not by allowing a sole business to struggle. Our home businesses, our homegrown businesses at scale must be protected with patriotic patronage until they improve and until a second or a third player emerges to provide effective competition. Entrepreneurs who take bold steps to bridge a gap must be supported. Even though they will profit from their ventures, it takes more than money to build these massive refineries or sustain the airlines. Consider China's approach with electric vehicles. China provided subsidies that allowed EVs to compete in Europe at rates European auto manufacturers couldn't match. Now, Chinese EVs have flooded Europe and everywhere. While China's structure makes this possible, our own unfair advantage lies in committing unequivocally to patronizing our own and keeping the money at home. To ensure our economy grows and our businesses thrive, we must embrace patriotic patronage and support our own industries. This is not just an economic strategy, but a national duty.
That's a very interesting advocacy. I am very big on patriotic patronage, but even if I'm not big on it, at the point where we are at now, not like we can afford to buy, to be non-patriotic, because we can't even afford to buy foreign brands with the way the Naira is at the moment.
There's a lot in your advocacy.
It's well packed.
Yinka. And, you know, it's an advocacy that we have to unravel because there's so many parts to it. And there are many parts that bring ideological differences when it comes to
in those.
You know, economic issues. So you push for protectionism. And that flies in the face of some of the continental and bilateral agreements that Nigeria has been part of, like AFTA, for instance. So in reality today, what's our challenge as a country, especially when we look at our currency? We are a consuming economy. We consume. And we have a very young population that are consuming and will continue to consume more than we're actually exporting. And so the options left to us are the options of import substitution. That is basically just replace some of the things you are importing with something you are producing locally, or export promotion. That is create something of value internally, locally, and then export. China did both. They took technologies from the West, adapted it locally for their people, and they also created, you know, products that they supply the world. So we're going to have to find a mix, you know, of the two. I'm not so sure that we can succeed with protectionism as a country. I think that the country has become, the world has become so globalized that a few years ago, the Nigeria came up with this automobile policy that you must manufacture cars in Nigeria and all that. And what they fail to realize is that cars are not being manufactured anywhere. Mm-hmm. Cars are just being assembled. Because the parts come from different places to supply the world. Let me say one last thing on the issue of airpeace, about their price wars. Now, before you go into a war, you have to prepare. You know, and I know that sometimes you don't like to hear these things. I mean, I patronize airpeace. I'm going to be flying on them next month. But you see, before you decide to do a price war, you must increase capacity. You must have the capacity to sustain it.
I mean, airpeace, you have to compete with your competitors. You come ready with full chests so that anything that happens, you can stand. I'm not going to be emotionally blackmailed to support a Nigerian brand just because. And then with the way you people do things anyhow, you cancel flight, you leave people hanging, you don't give compensation. I'm not one to fly them international yet. I'm going to stick with the ones I know. They're not perfect. Sometimes they hang you, but they give you a voucher and say, go and eat. Yeah, see, let me tell you, it's give and take. Mm-hmm. It's give and take. But 100% supporting Nigerian brands and patronage. If they are good, I am all for it, because this is the time for us to look inwards, and but then we also demand
Excellence.
that spirit of excellence. I need it to come through. I need you to look at the fine details. I need you to have customer service. I need you to see the consumer as king.
Growing up in Benin, you could find some of the best carpenters around the world in Benin. And you would have 3 or 4 story buildings of their showroom. They'll make this furniture behind the showroom, or maybe downstairs, and then they would. And these furniture makers had. My father was driving a Mercedes as a Chevron worker. The furniture maker was also driving a Mercedes as a furniture maker, right? How many furniture makers today can afford a Mercedes? But the question I always ask is, when we bring in the Chinese brands into the furniture markets, the bedmates and the lifemates, all of those brands, right?
Oh, they're Chinese.
How do we expect the Nigerian brands to grow? I saw something in February where China just made the first ship 100% patent from China. It means for them to build that ship, they don't have to import anything in dollars. I always laugh when Nigerians online are complaining about the price of dollar. But we keep buying foreign products. I'm like, how do you not have money and you have taste?
Right? Broke and bougie.
Let's just end the show. Let's end the show. How do you have money and no
Repeat
taste?
that line. Repeat. How do you what?
How do you not have money and you have taste?
Hi.
You want to keep
deep.
importing
That's a
things
deep
from the US. I have furniture in my house that I bought from the market in Lagos and I've used for 7-8 years, right? For me, I think it's important that we know that we might not have the best quality per time, but we must take a deliberate step to know that if we don't want to keep importing in 10 years' time, we must take the pain of having that locally made today.
But that also make him make the product better.
We will make it better because we would keep doing it.
Yeah.
When you do something 1,000 times, 10,000 times, you get better. You start even producing the machines that would produce those things. You see some of these videos on Instagram, you see people in India and Pakistan, they are making fuel filter, the oil filter you use for your car. We can't make oil filters and brake pads. I know there are a few companies that make brake pads now in Nigeria, but the government has to deliberately say,
Incentivize.
oh, you know what? We must buy brake pads from these people. Let it be bad. Let's buy more.
I'll let you not be bad, oh, break bad.
Yes, but
And
you
not
see,
be bad, oh.
when China started producing mobile phones, they were copying. When they started producing cars, they were copying.
Yeah.
But
No.
who can make a better car today?
China.
Right? BYD, the
Or
Chinese
phone, or
automaker,
phone.
yes, BYD, the Chinese automaker
Number one.
that you referenced, they are number one. About 7 years ago, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger had said America was not going to be able to compete with BYD. Elon Musk said, oh no, he's joking. Today, BYD bought a shipping line last year. A shipping line, just because of the demand for their cars in Europe and America.
So they can ship it.
So that they can ship it.
When AP said they were going to give us pepper soup, we were, hey, you know, it was a party. It's always a party for us. But the moment that the chair might be shaking, I mean, if AP's chair is shaking, we have to fly it.
My best friend is in Qatar, right? And he keeps complaining to me, we've been trying to figure out how to send yam and watermelons now to Qatar. Nigerians are sitting down and we are saying our youth do not have jobs. Can you sell yam? They need yam in places.
So why can't you send the yam?
I have another business, but I can sell the yam also. The parcel handling terminal at the
That's the
international
problem with the
airport,
yam,
right? Can it have cold rooms where people can
Keep their
process
yam, so it don't
chicken,
spoil.
keep things before they
So
ship
that it has
it
a
out?
longer-
So as a
Shelf
government,
life, yeah.
you don't need to come out and give money every time. You have proven that you can manage those things. Build the value chain. It is cheap to invest as a Nigerian now if you have Naira, right? If you have Naira here, give it to the entrepreneurs around you. Look for the people who are doing good businesses, support them and build what we call the Nigerian we want to see.
Great. As citizens, we each have a national duty towards nation building, and it starts with getting around the table and having those big conversations. It starts here. Join us again, 8 p.m. next week, same channel, to trash out fresh topics.
Bye-bye.
SCRL. I'm speaking Niger. Cross river. People say, Baba, you can't speak your language. That's how we start.